street sweeper. These are capital improvements. I mean, how do we get you to look at all that?
Yeah, so I mean, if you approve this agreement, we will just work those items into the overall plan.
What's
Unless this is something that we right away.
We're gonna have to find a street sweeper because we've already got it.
I'm sorry. I'm wearing a hat and all dressed down today, but
Okay.
he was
Yeah.
He was what?
he was prepping the two juries that are holding. I'm not currently working on that. But I've got a fun jury, or fun trial. It starts tomorrow. I have a judge who mandated
Yes, that's
a
right.
pay increase for his staff.
Townwide. It's on. Thanks.
Because he gets 80% of that. How close are we?
We're good.
It's 6:30. Are we good? Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening in this wonderful town that you've given us, this council thanks you for the privilege of serving this community, and we ask you for strength, courage, and wisdom. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Do I hear music? I did.
Maybe.
Slot machine.
Could be coming from the elevator, I'm not sure.
Yes, I do. We have theme music tonight.
Okay, call to order the November 16th meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from our previous meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend the minutes.
Motion to approve our minutes from the November 2nd meeting.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Dustin Gregg, 5-0. Unfinished business. Debt reduction. I'm going to defer this to you, Dustin. You're the one that brought it back up. I did bring it up to begin with, but
Gentlemen, do you have any questions over this? I know we talked about it and kind of kicked it down the road, but any questions on this plan that was proposed by Councilman Worthen?
Are you talking about from a long time ago?
Yes, the one that was a couple months ago.
We don't have it in front of us right now. I didn't have it last meeting either, but it's probably at home because I remember him passing it out.
It was passed out. We discussed it last meeting.
Yeah, I remember that. My stance is unchanged. I'd rather have it, if we pass the capital improvement plan, I'd rather have it all looked at through the capital improvement plan with the advice of Baker Tilly and a town-wide look at capital improvements and how we fund future capital improvements, but also how we deal with, sometimes that entails paying off debt. So what mix is optimal for taxpayers? Debt, grants, cash. That's my thought.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts?
That's what I thought we were going to do with the capital improvement plan as well. Take a look at it through all that.
You want to readdress this after we address the capital improvement plan?
Sure.
Move on to the capital improvement plan. Shane, I believe this was on you.
Yeah, we have pages here. Would you like to, from Baker Tilly, would you like to just introduce it real briefly? I know you've already done so once, but.
Paige Sandstone with Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. Yes, we had provided you with a scope of services to prepare a town-wide comprehensive capital improvement plan. And just quickly, what that scope would entail is we would meet with department heads and council and others associated with the town to develop a list, basically, of the capital needs over the next 5 to 10 years. And then at that point, we would look at your availability of funds, so that would most likely be cash on hand. But then we would also analyze any outstanding debt and determine if there's alternate methods of financing, whether it be through grants, further issuance of debt, refinancing debt, et cetera. And then the final document would be your formal capital plan that you could adopt as a council and update periodically. And it would help you during budget season because you can incorporate those capital items within your budget and it would be planned out ahead of time. Questions?
When you apply for grants, does having this plan help with that?
Some grants do like to see that you have a plan, whether that be a capital plan or an overall financial plan. So yes, it could, depending on the grant.
I was talking to the past mayor of Martinsville who told me, and who had balanced budgets, that it was one of the most important things she did as mayor. I think it's really a no-brainer and probably should have been done a long time ago. But that's, I feel like we have a piece of our overall town finances missing without this plan, and I sure feel better. I think having the financial advisor and the expert on board with this, helping us make better decisions for Mooresville. I don't think all of us are financial experts in towns. Most of us didn't work at the town. We don't have a town background when we get elected, so I think it helps all of us, really. And it gives the townspeople a document they can search and see what our future projects are.
We have other towns that our size that are using this.
Most of the municipalities we're working with now are larger cities. But certainly, we do have a few towns as part of, we also do comprehensive financial planning, which I think we've done here for the town. It's been a couple years ago, where we do like 5-year projections and we include a capital plan with that. So, yeah, but mostly larger cities, but it's still a good idea really for any size community.
Is 15,000 a real number that we're looking at, or can we shave that down quite a bit?
The 15,000 is a not to exceed number, so provided your department heads come prepared with lists already available and they're organized and all of that, it could shave that number down. And if the department heads don't need to meet with Baker Tilly and you just provide us with all of their plans, that would shave the number down even further. So, it really depends on how much you want us to have face-to-face contact with the department heads. We're just, trying to get their ideas of what their needs are over the next 5 to 10 years.
Paige, you 1782 notice
Yes.
that we got.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it says we were under our maximum levy, our working maximum.
By
So that
a
money
very
there,
small
so
amount.
that money there, that could go towards our capital improvement fund.
Oh,
right?
yes, yeah, I mean, you have a better than balanced budget, I believe, at least in general, if not a couple of your other funds. So yes, I mean,
I mean, we
Anytime.
were under our maximum levy,
well, only by a slight, like a few dollars.
$317.
Yeah, yeah.
But we could put that all towards capital improvement.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can. Your cash reserves, you've got some cash reserves, over the 50% that you could use for capital improvements. Or if you want to keep 75% cash reserves, then you have even some monies there. Because I think in general, you're over 100% right now, so. But that's all part of this planning that we would help you with to determine what level of cash reserves do you feel comfortable with. The rest we can apply towards a capital improvement plan, and then look for possible grant opportunities or other methods of financing, depending on how big the project is.
That $15,000, you're going to look for grants for us?
No, we might recommend that you look at certain grants. No, that would be additional cost. This would be, the $15,000 not to exceed is to develop the comprehensive capital plan, including the template that you can either take and use on your own, or have us update it every year.
That would be based on an hourly rate,
Yeah,
correct,
we
to
would just do
update it?
time, we would just do time and expense to update it. Some municipalities that we have given this to, they've just taken it on their own. It's pretty user-friendly, and they just update it periodically, but we're happy to update it for you. That's kind of really up to you, but yeah, just be how many hours we put into it.
I guess I'm missing in the big picture, I'm missing what you're doing for us that we can't do in-house ourselves.
You can certainly do it in-house. It really is just compiling your capital projects. I think one thing that we would offer as a value-added piece is that we're financial advisors, so we're going to help you determine the best way, the best means to fund these projects without depleting all of your cash reserves. So I think that's where we can add value. But otherwise, on the front end, we're compiling the projects and putting it in a format that's easily understandable, that you could have a formal document that can be adopted by council. So, yeah, I mean, certainly you could do it in-house.
Or just, I think we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. I think first off, we're going to start with our department heads, who their job is to run their department to the best that they can for the taxpayers, provide the best service that they can. And I think that you're going to get, like we see in the proposed fire budget, you're going to see an inflated because this is what we would love to have, and then we're going to be wrong because we say, we just can't afford to do that. I think we're also setting ourselves up for, I'm all for the department heads putting together a preventive maintenance or a equipment replacement list, but then what happens when something comes along that we need to fund otherwise? Then now we put that on the back burner. Best I could figure, most all of these plans were done for cities where a mayor has maybe wanted to leave his footprint somewhere.
What? Is what somewhere?
His footprint.
Oh, okay.
Make sure someone knows I've walked through here. And I mean,
What's wrong with that?
We've had projects in the past that have sprung up out of the blue, and we've funded them. We've had to stop what we were doing.
That's right.
And fund those projects. And I think it just puts us behind the 8 ball. But that's my thoughts on it. I don't know if you can get rid of those thoughts for me. If you see something that I'm not seeing.
Well, I see something. Number one, when he says he's for a list of items that the department heads produce for capital improvement projects, I didn't see one this year without going to the department head myself, and neither did any member of this council. So you're not for it. It got cut before it got here. This prevents all of that from happening. There's no reason in the world not to have planning. And you also just said that we have projects come out of the blue. This helps prevent that, makes it so you can plan ahead. which is good for the town. I mean, there could come a time when you're not here. And I think leaving a footprint is a good thing for the future councils and the future of the town. I'm not confident that some of us on this council have any clue what's going on, to be honest, with the finances. I'm just not. And as a taxpayer myself, I want the financial, know that the town's finances are being looked at closely by the financial advisors. And I don't care if that's an insult, that's how I feel about it.
Any other questions for Paige? Before us, we have a scope of work from Baker Tilly. Is an engagement letter.
An appendix to the engagement.
An appendix to the engagement letter. Yeah, we would have to have you look at the engagement letter.
The engagement letter already, you executed back in February, I think. It's got all of the standard language in it.
And that's where this is dated because of that.
Correct.
And this is just an added service
To that engagement, correct.
Motion to approve the engagement letter to have a, what is it? Capital improvement plan done for the town of Mooresville.
And that would come out of legal fees.
I don't know.
That's where
How
we
much is
pay
in there?
Baker Tilly now,
How much is in there now?
about 20, according to this.
We have it done this year?
Likely no, because it's where we're at right now.
Is that where you'd want to pay it out of?
Well, that's where it's been coming out of, correct?
I think that's where we normally figure our fees for helping us with our budget, is out of the legal fees.
I think it should be separated into financial services and legal fees so it's clear. But that's for another meeting. So I would make the motion that we approve the additional scope of work from Baker Tilly for the capital improvement plan out of legal fees.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote is 4-1. I am voting against it. Please provide services for us. Thank you.
Would you like me to stay for other items on the agenda, or?
You're more than welcome to. Next is the budget policy discussion. Now, on this, I think you had.
So we had drafted, based upon what Councilman Williams provided last meeting, discussions with Diana regarding some concerns. I think Paige actually took a look at this, and she has some edits that she would propose. I used a term of art that was improper. I called it the final approved annual budget, but it will not be a final approved budget until the end of the process, and really until you get DLGF sign off. So throughout there where it's referred to as final, Paige's and Diana's suggestions are that we say that's the proposed annual budget and to make some changes within there.
That would be this, the edited one here.
Correct. And again, we just crafted this based off of what was presented to us. If there are any other suggestions or revisions to it, or if you don't want us to proceed or proceed farther, however, we're just here to take direction.
Comments? Jeffrey?
I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think that we do need to have these, yes. It's just something new. It gives the public a chance to hear what we're doing with our budget, so yeah.
Shane?
I proposed it for a reason. It's the same as what he just said. I thought our last budget process really didn't give the public near enough notice. It was a lawful process, but it's sometimes the law doesn't do what I think it should in regards to public access. So this does include a budget workshop where the department heads present their budget and capital improvement plan now, which is worded in here, to the council. So you'll see the whole picture of the town, not just the operating side of the town. Now you're going to see the big projects of the town as well, and the large requests from the department heads, some of which may get approved and some may not, but that's the way it is now. But at least you'll know about it, and you'll have plenty of notice as to where we are in the process. The public can actually access this document, so if they forget when the process is annually, they can come in and get a copy of this and follow it right through the process. It's fair, open, transparent, allows input from department heads in front of the public, which I think is extremely important.
Greg?
Well, I would like to be involved more in the budget, to get a clearer understanding of it. I haven't been exposed to this type of budget. Mostly it's just company budgets, which are vastly different. I don't know, I guess I see some merit in it.
Dustin?
I'm gonna lose my filter here in a minute, but I honestly don't care either way. I think it's a good idea, but I have no problem with the current process.
Yeah. This year's budget process, and I just want to make sure that it is pointed out again. Paige, you're here. You can either confirm or deny. Last year, I was invited to a budget workshop, and an hour and a half into it, I was left on my own, and I asked if we wanted to table it, do it later, reschedule it, and I was told no, go ahead and get it done. I see what you're doing, and that's the best that it can be done. That's the way it has to be done. We bragged about that. We bragged about it being a balanced budget. This year we did exactly the same thing with the exact same players invited, and it's wrong. The part that bothers me about having the public come in is I have been on the butt end of disagreeing. And when I disagree, I'm ridiculed and humiliated and told everything that I'm doing wrong. And I would love to save the public from that kind of actions. But it's going to bring the department heads in. Sometimes when we started, I think last year when we started, we were $450,000 off. This year, I think we were close to $600,000, if not more, off from what we could actually fund. And there's some tough decisions that have to be made. And I would love to have everyone involved to the point that when it's a success, we seem to all take credit. So if this is how we're going to do it, that's great. We're going to hold it to it. It doesn't matter how late the meetings are or when the meetings are scheduled, we'll do them. So I need a motion to pending changes by legal counsel to approve Resolution 30, 2021.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
On the budget workshop, that would include the public
It would be
at
open.
that point? An
So
open meeting?
when you look at 514.1.5, that's the open door law.
That's what I hadn't,
So that would be advertised. It would be a full meeting of the council, it'd be a special call meeting of the council for the workshop. So the
it would be open to the public.
Just ask what,
To do by the state statute.
It does. So with the state statutes, you have the advertising that goes on to Gateway. I think it's the Form 4. And that lays out the statutory requirement. So this goes above and beyond what the statute requires, yes.
Okay, I was thinking it would just be a,
No, it'll be an open door. Everyone can come in. We have never said, hey, you can't speak. We've never said that. People want to speak.
because they get a chance anyway. I mean, if,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great chance.
Yeah.
It's a great chance. But when someone says, I'm pro-police, anti-fire, I would rather see all the money being spent there, we have to do that. Our department heads do and should well understand that the budget is not ours to set the cap on. The budget is set by the state of Indiana and lots of goofy rules. Is that fair?
Yeah, you only have half so much you can spend.
And that's where we back into it. We assume that golden 4% on our levy. And we back away from there. We have things that happen. Like I said, I think with Baker Tilly's help, to be $317 away from our levy is really, really good. So know that there's going to be people that disagree. And again, we all have to be big boys. We have to say, I lost that battle and I'm going to move on to the next one. Because it's all about what's good for the town and what's good for the taxpayers of this town.
these public workshops, it's my understanding that it would not be open to the public, but not for comment at that point. They're going to have a chance at a public hearing.
But let me ask you this. Do you know of a meeting that this board has had where we've shut down and not allowed the public to talk? When someone says, I want to talk about, and I'm trying to be fair here and not put it on something, but I want to talk about the use of one brand of toilet paper at the Park and Recreation and how much that costs, then we have to be prepared to do it. Also on that is, we do have the luxury at that point in time of setting a budget that takes care of the whole township. Our park is an entire township budget. We can't say, well, now, wait a minute, you're not within the city limits. No, we're not, because we do set that budget. We're elected to do a pretty hard job sometimes. And the hard job is to stand back and say, yeah, we do want that, but no, we can't afford it.
Not afraid of the public or public criticism. We're here all the time. It's their money. It's your money. There's a reason you're allowed to come here. It's not our money.
Tommy, I hear what you're saying. The way I look at this is we're going to have a public workshop, close it to the public. You're right. We've never, ever stopped them from speaking. But I think this is a situation where you have to, or we could spend weeks debating back and forth. We do have an important job. We're elected to do that job. The public's going to have an opportunity. How I see it unfolding is having a public workshop. They can take notes at the public hearing. Then they'll have a chance to bring their notes back and say, hey, I got a question on this. That's the way I see it playing out. You got other council members that want to get involved, myself included. We all can't do that as a whole without doing a public workshop, I don't feel. So that's just my opinion on it, unless you see it another way.
Well,
It's no different than this
into your
meeting.
term, and yeah, if you want to get involved, I'm all for it.
It's no different than this meeting where we have an agenda with public comments. We don't worry about, they're going to overrun us with comments on everything else, and we've had a lot more controversial issues than this, than the budget. But I don't know why everybody is always afraid of the public. It's their money.
I'm not afraid of the public. I'm afraid of standing up and being able to address the public in a kind and courteous manner. That's what I'm afraid of.
That's just a matter of self-control. You may not be able to do everything that they want.
Say that?
Yeah, I did, sir. I have no problem criticizing government, but it's the public's money. And I try not to be that way with them. But I have no problem criticizing ourselves, that's for sure. And that's the way American government has worked since the beginning. So,
Call for a vote.
Do I have a motion?
I'd make the motion to adopt this resolution for the budgetary process. It's pending or subject to the edits by the town attorney.
Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed. I think we're gonna, well,
Was that three? What was the vote?
it was 3-2. It
3-2.
was, Shane made the motion, Jeff seconded it, Dustin voted for it, Craig and I opposed. But here's the thing, I voted against it, but I'm gonna support it wholeheartedly, and I think that we can move forward from here and make sure that this is a good thing for the town and the taxpayers.
We've always tried to do the best for the taxpayer.
That's nice, but the vote's what counts. That's the way I look at it. Can't have it both ways.
Funding of the street sweeper.
Can we get to option A? Can we redo that?
Do what?
I said,
Okay, if you want to go back to that debt reduction.
yep, I do.
Paige, we talked about this. I called you back some time ago and talked about ways to limit or spend down. We talked about the payoff of our debt. We talked about transferring 10% of our budget into rainy day fund, which is less than what by law we can. And then we talked about possibly funding our self-insured health insurance and cutting the cost to our employees. Is there anything that you think that we need to wait for this capital improvement plan to address these? I guess what my concern or what my thoughts were, and since we're counting on you as legal counsel or as financial counsel here, that would free up, if we would do that, that would free up $104,000 in Lowit and $91,000 in CCD to be able to fund things on an annual basis. Do you see that as a problem or as something we should wait and address with the?
I think you're kind of putting me on the spot with that.
No, I'm not.
I
Don't
think
answer.
we would like to run some numbers to see what makes the most sense. Like, what is the interest rate on this debt? If it's very low, then it may not be a good idea to pay it off because cash is king, right? Maybe you take that cash and use it to buy capital items. So I don't know. We would really have to run an analysis to see what would be the best thing to do. I do like the idea of transferring monies to rainy day, to segregate those monies out, especially if you do want to do a capital improvement plan. That's a good idea, segregate it out of general. So I think those options, we would want to take a closer look at those options for you.
Can that be part of the capital improvement?
The transferring to rainy day and the spending down the debt, yes. But the one you mentioned, HSA, we could maybe take a look at that as part of your cash balances to see if you could do that.
Justin, I don't know if it's a cart and horse thing. We have Tom.
How long to run this analysis? I'm impatient.
Well, I guess, what is your goal? You just don't want to have debt outstanding?
We want to free up some money to buy some of these larger items. $200,000 for a street sweeper. Mm-hmm. We have some other items that have been talked about by our department heads in public meetings. They're large figures.
Because you have cash reserves that could potentially take care of some of those larger items. So I'll just go back to answer your question. How long will this take? It usually takes about, I would say, 8 to 10 weeks. Now, we do have the holidays coming up, but to do the full capital improvement plan, it would take that. If you want us to run a quick analysis to see, I want to see what the interest rates are on that debt that you're holding right now. You said it was out of public safety lit and CCD. We'd want to take a look at that, but you do have cash reserves sitting in general for one. I'd have to look at what your other funds are, but you have cash reserves over 50%. Now, 200,000, that does seem like a big chunk. So we'd have to look at to see, if we paid for that street sweeper out of general, what would that do to your cash reserves? How far would it drop it down? But I mean, the monies are there. It's what is your comfort level in spending down cash reserves? We would never recommend that you go below 15%. And quite frankly, I would like to see 25 to 30%. Well, you're well above that right now. But just remember, when you use those cash reserves, it's gone permanently. It's not going to come back unless you underspend your budget every year. So yeah, I mean, we're more than happy to help you through that. I wouldn't want to make a quick decision about it though, without really taking a look at it.
Well, I think part of my goal was to free up the LOIT for annual expenses, reoccurring
Sure.
expenses.
Annual, like equipment expenses and
Well,
things?
either
Or
that-
just salaries maybe?
Salaries, benefits,
Okay,
and then be able to free up some of the general budget for the wish list, the things
Sure.
that we do need. So that was my thought process there. So we'll get those numbers to you, I guess, and is it all right if we have her run those numbers, consensus of the board?
I think we could do that relatively quickly. I mean, give us a week or so, 2 weeks maybe.
Sure.
Just to see what makes sense.
Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Yes.
Those are the numbers, if you want to take those. Dustin, before you pound your head anymore, is that?
Hey,
We're
it's
gonna
the
have all the-
luxury of being on this board.
There you go. Next item, funding for the street sweeper. Thoughts? I think we've already used it.
Yeah, we can't take it back now.
Thoughts? Anybody? Doom, 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 doom.
So your proposal there, if I remember right, was about half the cash reserve or something like that, almost $2 million. If I don't have the sheet in front of me.
I don't either, I gave mine to Paige. I guess I do.
Last I knew, there was about 4.6 million in cash reserves. Is that accurate?
Is it? That's what 4.6 you said?
Last I knew. Last reporting, which was a little while ago.
Estimated cash reserve at the end of 2021, if we spend all of our budgets, is 4.616300. Less the transfers of 2, should bring us down to about 43.78% reserve for the operating balance, or at the end of 2022. Should put us at about 43%. Now, the other side of it is, did anyone look at the budgets that we have already approved, where we wouldn't have to additional appropriate, to see where we may have funding available that we could,
Yeah, you talked about food and beverage, correct? For half of it?
I suggested that at the
Yeah.
last meeting. So did you look at that?
I thought that was a good idea.
And where else?
Because we had, I think we had 1.9 million in there,
Okay.
Almost do, yeah.
close to it. Did the town, do you have any problem with that Jewel, assigning the stormwater side of things to the street sweeper since it's cleaning up for storm sewers?
No, you can make a correlation that the street sweeper has a direct tie into the operations of your stormwater facilities because you are taking and cleaning the roads, keeping them going into the stormwater drains and blocking them off.
So that's good.
So what about the other half?
Uh,
Remember, we're a Rule 13 compliant community, and that is part of our obligation, is we got to keep the floatables and the solids out of the creeks and tributaries. The food and beverage paid a lot of that in cleaning up our ditch lines this past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So if that is true, what else would be true? Did you guys look at 626?
I did not, to be honest with you. The first question in my mind was, do we want to pay cash or do we want to finance it? And I lean towards paying cash in my mind.
That's why I'm asking you where you want to pay for it.
Right. So is that where we're headed then, it sounds like?
We got to know whether we can pay for it before we can decide that we're going to pay for it.
Right.
So where else did you look?
CCD, is that,
How much, we budgeted that, we budgeted $100,000, but I think, what we got left in there, 53,000? 50,000 in CCD. So we got 200,000, we're gonna pay half of it out of food and beverage. And 50,000 out of CCD, but that doesn't give us anything on CCD as far as, of course, we don't need that. I mean, we're 2 months away and we can always pull that off there, but would you look at 626? Stormwater utility operating. Page 3 of the fund report. We have a balance in there of $369,070.35. Because of the direct tie to the food and to the stormwater, we could pay half out of one and half out of the other. That funding there comes from our erosion control, our stormwater fee, that little $3 that we put on every sewer bill in the town of Mooresville. And it has accumulated enough to where we can come back in and tie directly into that. Baker Tilly, what do you think of that? Sounds reasonable to me. And that pays for it. We don't pay any interest on it. And that pays for it out of budgeted funds this year. Because if we go back, because I know we looked at this at 1.9, but if we go back to your appropriation report, Shane, do you remember what we cut the food and beverage? Because I know you wanted that, we wanted a balanced budget.
I thought it was like 375 or something.
And how much do we have in there now?
I think I just said 1.9 million.
No, I mean in the budgeted part.
Oh.
Because otherwise
yeah.
we're gonna have to additional appropriate out of it.
I'm not 100% sure. Let me look.
Well, now, that's not gonna be accurate because we still have, do you remember how much our steam in place liners were for the sewers? Was that 160?
I thought it was 180, but
180? So we budgeted, because we cut that back.
Yeah.
We were estimating it at, and in the appropriation, we're at $399,000, so we take 160 out of that. So we could still pay for it out of the appropriated fund
Of food and beverage.
of food and beverage, and the appropriated, or we don't have to on the stormwater because it is not a DLGF monitored fund. So that budget is a standalone, so we wouldn't have to additional appropriate. We can spend it as needed.
I know we added food and beverage to the budget, to the gateway last year, but is it home ruled as well?
Not when you budget it, not when you,
Not any longer?
It doesn't require DLGF approval, but it does require council approval.
Right. I thought it was a home ruled fund too.
it is a home rule fund, but you decided that we were going to budget it and
Right.
put it on there, and there we are at $399,000 because we did cut that back because we wanted it to be, we wanted a balanced budget. I think you were kind of set on that, and
I
we
was.
had it originally at like 750,000 because you'd taken into consideration what we'd spent the year before on a lot of steam in place stuff, and we just weren't planning on doing that this
That's
year.
right.
So we cut it back. So now we can, boom. What do you think, Jewel? Can we pay legal counsel out of food and beverage?
I think you can pay legal counsel out of whatever you want to.
So we are going to buy a street sweeper, aren't we?
Who's that?
What's that look?
You already did buy it. You
I
just
know,
have
it
to-
doesn't even have that new sweeper smell anymore.
We got the bristles dirty, we have to buy it.
Okay, so gentlemen, how do we want to fund the street sweeper?
Oh, we decided that.
I'm gonna let someone else make the motion.
Yeah? 449 and 626?
So moved.
There you go. He said so moved.
Yeah.
Motion been made to fund the street sweeper out of half out of food and beverage and half out of stormwater, 449 and 626 respectively. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
I love when you get fed up, you just, I love that.
Cash is cash to me.
Police K-9.
Before I start, I'd like to make some comments about comments that were made at last meeting with regards to the K-9 fund. There was a meeting that I was invited to by Sergeant Schultz. I know Mr. Hughes and Shane Williams, and I believe Jeff was also privy to come to that meeting. I thought it was going to be a funding meeting. I didn't know what the preference of that meeting was prior to going there. We discussed the K-9 program. There was a couple statements that were made by Councilman Cook with regard to keeping the town board in check. That was never mentioned in that meeting, nor was there a rookie officer there that's made a statement like that, and you can confirm this with Councilman Williams because he was there.
But that comment was made,
Which comment?
that we were put in check from that meeting.
No?
Yes. Not from that meeting. A group from that meeting came away with that.
Okay, well, I was not privy to that information.
Okay, well, that's what happens when you have officers' wives running a meeting.
She wasn't
You're the
running
police
the
chief.
meeting.
You're the police chief.
She was not running the meeting.
Okay, she was
Was
there.
she not running? I know you don't want to be in the middle of this, Shane.
That's what came from the
I pick
meeting.
my fights.
Where are you getting your information from?
Reliable sources.
Okay, well,
And
That
I can
was
show
not
you, and I
stated
can
in the
show you
meeting.
the messages.
and Sean Miller was not there at that
I
meeting.
understand that.
But from what I heard from the statement on the thing, that's what it sounded like you said, that he said to keep the council in check and that he was at the meeting.
Okay,
Is that what you said, or did you not?
Sean Miller was not at the meeting.
Correct.
Sean Miller made the comment that we were put in check at that meeting.
I'm not privy to that information.
I am.
Okay. None of the stuff was said at the meeting, at that meeting. There was, Mrs. Schultz was present. There was nothing discussed about policy. There was nothing, or decided or anything like that. It was all about funding the K-9 program. That's all it was about. Now, there were questions made about why the town council has so much control, and I explained to them why you have so much control, because this is an additional appropriation. This is not a line item budget. I have no power to have more decision-making power in that. You guys are totally in charge on how this K-9 program is funded, because it is a separate appropriation. I have no power in that. Would you not agree?
You have the entire budget. Our job is to provide you the budget. If you want to take it, the comment is, if you want to buy 4 dogs with the fuel budget, you can do it.
Okay.
But you can just, I don't know how you're going to pay for gas. I mean, the budget is yours.
I would agree. But if it is an additional appropriation, that falls in your purview. I would request that. You guys have the power to say yes. You have the power to say no.
I agree.
And based upon the information that I present to you is whether you say yes or whether you say no. Would you not agree to that? Okay. Other than that, I know there was about some, the only complaints that I received, because we did have a meeting a couple weeks ago, you were present. You guys counseled me on things that I should be doing. I've tried to address those the best I can. All the ones that you brought up tonight, they were addressed. I don't know what has happened since then, other than this meeting, and that somebody's, I honestly didn't have a problem with Casey being there if she just wants to discuss something. Councilman Williams, his wife was present at a meeting when we were discussing body cameras. I didn't have a problem with that. He didn't have a problem with that. I'm sorry that Jeff has a problem with that. He was offered the chance to come to that meeting. That's about all I can, Any comments?
No, my comment to him and in that meeting was, I agreed with him that things seem to be getting a little bit out of control. We had that conversation. You and I have had that conversation.
And at that meeting, I was told it was water under the bridge. It apparently is not.
Well, I was told that it didn't get it corrected, but you're saying it did, so we're fine.
The things that he asked me about that night, or after the town council meeting, they were addressed. Now, if something else has came up and it's not been brought to my knowledge, it's hard for me to address it if it's not been brought to my attention. If there's something else that I need to address, let me know about it. But I've tried to keep you in the loop with everything that I've been doing since you are my liaison. I CC you in every email that concerns something that I think you really need to know about.
Well, when this board has pretty much told you, you've had the consensus of the board to purchase a K-9. We're not double taxing people running around with their hands out for donations. That's still going on. The meeting should have never happened. It should have never happened. We're fighting to get that for you.
I understand that, but am I supposed to stop citizens from donating to the fund?
There's other things you could be used for donations, Kevin.
But when a citizen brings in a check for the K-9 donation fund, I have to put that in the K-9 donation fund.
You're still pushing the donations for the K-9.
I'm not pushing any donations. Social media has what's been.
I understand, and that's what's got you in the mess it's in.
But I'm not the one that's fueled that on social media.
You're the chief.
I can't stop people from posting on social media.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have anything else.
You all have quotes from 3 different vendors. I can give you my preference based upon, let's see here, let me get down to it. You have VLK, you have Rhode Island K-9, and you have Land Time Training. In my opinion, based upon the research that I've done, and I will tell you this, prior to that, we did select a K-9 handler. Yes, he is a young officer. He's a go-getter. He was vetted by 3 K-9 officers outside of this agency. We had 2 from the Sheriff's Department and 1 from Martinsville actually spoke to him and interviewed him, and they were 100% on board with him being selected and think he's going to be a go-getter. He's going to drug interdiction schools. He's been actually on his own time going to K-9 training both at Hendricks County and at Morgan County and watching how they do things. Land Time, And the one from Rhode Island was just an email, so I was kind of unimpressed with that quote. I think Landheim meets all of our marks, and Councilman Cook, about a fully trained dog. We get the training. It's in our association that we are currently in, so they will back that training also. And the association that they're in, they have the liability insurance to cover anything. As long as everything is done correctly, they will cover any issues with the dog or an arrest or whatever happens if we get a dog bite or suit or something like that. Any questions or concerns?
Which one do you like?
The one from Landheim, Bob Fleming is the owner.
You know dogs from all of these places, correct? You know of agencies with dogs?
I know of agencies that have dogs from all three of these vendors.
Were they, I'm assuming that they recommended this, it's in Indiana, which I like. The training's in Indiana, the dog's in Indiana, or at least we get it from an Indiana source. I think the dogs
One of the
come from
canine handlers,
overseas,
and I won't mention his name, but he would prefer to go this route, but based upon his administration's, how they want to fund it, they wanted to go with a lower cost, and so they do a little bit things different. I went with Councilman Cook's recommendation, fully trained dog, dual purpose with the training.
But the other agencies recommended this to you?
Yes.
Does that include Morgan County?
Morgan County, Martinsville, all of them, most of the handlers are very versed with the different kennels where they get dogs. They've gotten dogs from these three vendors. There's another one in Ohio. I can't remember the name of it. He's an older gentleman, and they say the qualities kind of went down a little bit, so I kind of steered away from that one.
The one in Ohio?
Yes.
Well, they certainly gave a lot of information back with their quote. Much more than any of the others.
And again, this would not be something that I could fund out of the Canine Donation Fund. There would not be enough in it. So it would be an additional appropriation in order to be able to do that. Now, Bob Fleming did advise me when I spoke to him, he has a dog right now, and based upon what you decide, he was willing to hold that dog until I spoke to him tomorrow. Not trying to say that this is a rush deal. This is what he told me, and that's the only reason I'm giving the information.
If we need an additional appropriation, we'll have to advertise, have the public hearing, and go through that process of the additional appropriation ordinance. I think this council, if they want to say, you're comfortable moving forward down that road to go about that, to get the additional appropriation, that's fine, but you can't do the additional appropriation tonight.
Right.
And I'm aware of that also.
It still bothers me that there's no canine line item in the budget. There's just the donation fund. So where would we put the money?
I mean, normally, so when I was in Terre Haute, the K-9 units, they are officers. They have a retirement ceremony and everything, so they were within the police budget itself. They would have that broken down in there. That's just how we did it there. I don't know if you were asking me for that response.
Yes, I'm asking you what.
So generally what we did there is we would put it under the police budget. I don't know if you've had.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences.
So is that bid the 14.5?
The one from Landheim?
Is that the one you're proposing?
Yes.
And it's just the 14.5, because the 9,500 is if we had our own dog. Is that right?
Yes. The 1450, and he tells me that handles everything. The only thing I would have to supply, and I do have I guess you call it travel budget, would be fund his stay at the location.
And food.
And food. Well, per diem, I guess you would call it.
What's dual purpose? Let's talk about that dual purpose.
Granted, I'm not a canine handler, but that's all the different things that the dog can do. Patrol, track, narcotics.
That's 3, but it's still.
But it's still called dual purpose. And that's coming from a layman. I'm not a canine handler.
There's a comment was made about marijuana.
I've actually discussed that with several of these vendors and other canine officers. I guess the best way to do it, what I was told, is we would go the narcotics route, leave marijuana off, because we don't know where everything's going. We can put marijuana back on that table later on with the dog. You can't take it away from the dog. You can add it to, you just can't take it away. So, because I've been thinking about that a lot. The way the country's going, is marijuana going to be legal in the near future? I don't know. But that's a possibility that we could do, where we only train with a certain narcotics that leave marijuana out of it. We have that option, put it that way. If we want to put marijuana back on the table, we can. It's just you can't take it away.
Once they're trained for it, that's it.
Correct. Once the dog's trained for it,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to do anything as far as, I think you're going to have a lot of problems doing anything as far as the narcotics going to court. If it, let's say it becomes illegal or comes legal, you're going to have a lot of problems in court, I would think. Did that answer your question, or did I confuse the situation? Okay.
And Jeff, your comment was on the attack.
Got a lot of them. What was that?
The attack part of it, or the.
Yeah, I just don't think that our dogs are, we had 3 attack dogs and they never bit because we just don't have that type of call volume
I've
here.
seen the dogs bite.
I've seen multiple times they've been released and never bit.
Well, do we want them to be biting dogs?
I mean,
Is that part of?
I don't know
is
if we
that
do
part
or
of the-
don't.
The 3 in dual training?
Yes.
I don't know. I just think there's an awful lot to this. I always said, if we do this right, I'm in support of it, and I just don't feel that this is going down the right path. I mean, we got a rookie officer. He's been on 1 year and 7 months. A year of that's been training. I mean, this guy didn't hardly know to be a police officer. I know because I've been there. Okay, and then we're going to give him a dog on top of everything else he's got going on. We're talking thousands of dollars here, and I'm just not a rubber stamp up here at this time. I just don't see it. I don't know this Landheim kennel. I spent many hours asking people about canines. Never heard of this kennel. Heard the other kennel that was presented. Talked to multiple agencies, multiple canine handlers. That's the direction everybody was going. Now we're a couple $1,000s cheaper. This is what they're doing. I don't know anything about it. I haven't had time to do homework on this kennel. Again, I'm not sold on giving an officer that green a dog. I think it sets the handler up for failure, and I think it sets the dog up for failure. If that's what we're going to do. I mean, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And I just feel that this whole thing has just been one direction. So.
How do you see the best way to proceed as a liaison? What do you think we need to do? Do we need to regather?
I don't know.
Ask them to, have you seen SOPs on the dog, or?
I've talked to some commissioners, and I think they're going to revisit that. So I don't know without saying. So I think you'll see more of that maybe at another commission meeting. I don't know.
What are your thoughts as a chief? Do you think we need a dog?
Yes.
Shane, your comments? What do you want to do?
I still support the program. I'd like to see a line item. I'd like to see it done correctly, as Jeff said. I like the fact that this is an Indiana-based program. This is one of those cases where I don't have police experience like Councilman Cook or the chief, so I'm kind of going based on the meetings I've had with the chief, and that's kind of where I'm at. I think, I would support moving forward, and then I think if there's more questions, it gives you more time for the council to move forward. I'm sorry, but the process of the additional appropriation and so forth gives more time for council members to ask questions. But that's just my opinion. I may be outnumbered.
Have you looked at the police budget? Have you looked at your budget to say, hey, we're coming into the 12th month. What have I got funding available for this?
I have funding. Like you said, we got a big influx of, let's say fuel goes to $5 a gallon by December. That might cause some issue, but there is funding there.
Balance is there.
The last budget that I got from the clerk's office, I think, was right at the end of October, and the fuel budget was right at about 50%. So I'm assuming about, maybe 10 to 20% by the time we get to December. We'd be down to 30% in that fuel budget, so that would be $30,000 approximately. That's a guesstimate on my part.
This shows 50,143 and 44.7.
Is that how current is that one?
This today.
Okay. I was looking at one from about a month ago.
And the additional appropriation, we can do that, but this is budgeted money. It will go to the cash reserve. It's going to go back to the same place if we don't spend it. So we could spend it out of there. We could spend that. I know there was some questions on, there's the body cameras coming up, but I think there's some questions on the contract with them. But we could fund both of them this time, just one time.
One time,
and
yeah.
And then look at it next year. We're a hurricane and a pipeline away from seeing $5 a gallon gas. So, we always look at that budget, but I think last year we bought guns with that money.
Was it with fuel?
A good portion of it was.
There was a different, there were several line items, and I looked at those today, but I can't honestly remember which
But I
one
mean-
that might have. But yes.
We're 11 months in, or 11 and a half months in, 11 months in, because we're not going to spend anymore. We're not going to approve a docket after tonight, this month, so, and we still have $53,000. If we're going to do this, we have until the end of the year to either buy it or encumber it for that. But if, I'm still going to lean back with Jeff, is this program being ran properly? I'm going to count on Jeff, he sees it. He sees it. I don't get it. I see the dog barking in the back of the car at a stop sign, or the stoplight, and I say, they got a canine unit, and that's all I know about it. If we're doing it right.
Forgot the tennis ball under the light bar.
There's a tennis bar under the light bar? Okay. So, Jeff, do we need to still move forward as far as saying, yes, we're going to do it, but we want to see it done differently, or do we take Shane's approach and just start in on it?
I've told you where I stood. Right now, I'm not ready to proceed. Everything that's gone on, how it's gone on, no. My answer, I'm a no vote for no confidence.
Dustin?
Pretty hard to get the guy that has a dog. Here, I'll tip my cards a little bit. Mine's from Germany. Kind of well-versed in this, and I see some flaws as well, but it's your department, not mine. It is not my dog. Again, know of a couple of these. Again, I would have chose probably different, but that is me. Is the dog going to stay with us, or is it going to go with the handler if the handler leaves?
The dog would be ours.
So the handler can go to, let's say, IMPD, and the dog's going to be reassigned to a new handler.
Correct.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better.
Will that be in the standard operating procedures? Because that's not the way it's been done in the past. I've been told in the past that you can't switch handlers. Is that right, Jeff?
It's dependent upon, we had issues with one dog, and it was suggested that the dog buy a kennel, not go back with a handler. Most all the other dogs that we've had, they were medically retired for one reason or other. And I don't know about, was Hester's dog just given with him, or was he medically retired before he left? Because I don't totally know the whole standards
I'm
behind
confused
that.
on it. I don't know. I know he was medically retired and then tried to give it away, so I don't know.
Okay. 'Cause I didn't
Another agency.
really,
But that didn't happen.
and I think Pugh's dog, was that medically retired? What was the deal with that? Because didn't he resign and go work somewhere? And I'm not privy to that information on how that was handled. But I guess, just a caveat to that would be, if the dog can be transferred to another handle, that's what would happen.
You'd have to have retraining then.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to get the dog reconditioned with a new handler.
Yep.
Now, could the training center have any kind of a say in vetting a person with a dog, whether?
What they do is
fail people out just like every other.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
They try to pair the handler with the
right.
dog based upon the dog's mannerisms and the handler's mannerisms. They try to make them as compatible as possible.
Right, okay.
At least that's what I've been told by several of these,
That's-
these kennels.
I just wondered about
To
that.
piggyback off the chief, usually you start off the canine academy, we'll just dumb it down that way, and you work with 7 different dogs, and you cycle through, and then there's a certain point to where the master handler or the kennel basically says, this is your dog, you don't have a say in it. So you may go there and say, gee, I really want a Malinois, and end up with a German Shepherd.
But I
They
think
have a final say in what,
Yes, it's compatibility,
okay.
and they can throw you out and say you're not meant to be a canine anyway.
I would think they could see that pretty quick.
It takes a special person, just like anything in law enforcement and fire. They all have niches.
Yeah.
So I'm half a dozen of one, half a dozen of another.
Gentlemen, I need a motion to table, motion to buy a dog, motion to move on. Nothing? Cricket?
Nothing for me.
Well, if he can buy it out of the fuel, he would still need our approval, Jewel? That there would not be an additional appropriation, correct? Since it's already budgeted?
There wouldn't be an additional appropriation. I mean, fuel is, and Paige, you'd probably be better at this, but fuel is a line item that is for purchasing of goods and supplies. I mean, I think the dog probably falls within, I don't know if a dog falls in that category.
Capital asset.
Yeah. So it's maybe a transfer,
Either way, it's just a
just a fund transfer.
The council can approve a transfer of appropriation.
And what do we do if the commission goes back and changes the policy to where you gotta have a number of years on before you have that?
We don't do nothing.
Right, but we approved a dog, you know? It's just,
Do you want to wait and see the SOPs?
it's up to you guys. I just, again, I've said my piece. I think we're setting the dog up for failure, and I think we're setting the officer up for failure. Canine handlers are normally veteran officers who control scenes, who can make command decisions, not a rookie officer that's got 7 months on the road to a year on the road. I've just never seen that. Dustin, have you?
No, actually, that's pretty unheard of.
Right.
I will say there's several agencies in this county that have young officers that are canine officers.
With 7 months on them? I said a year and 7 months is,
I don't know, 2-3 years.
And I know you said you deferred to Jeff. Do you still agree with Jeff on this?
I don't defer to anybody. I usually try to take into account everybody's opinion because that's what I do. But if you're asking for a motion, I would make the motion to move forward with the purchase of the dog from Landheim in the amount of $14,500 from using the fuel account. Is that were you asking for a motion?
Yeah, I mean,
There's my motion.
motion to move forward. Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Is there any more discussion?
I want to see the SOPs. I'm pretty sympathetic, but I want to see what the police commission does before I jump into the fray. And they're on their own timetable.
And they've already approved a K-9 SOP.
They have?
Yep.
You may want to forward that to the council.
I will do that.
We'll look forward to seeing that again. Next item, body camera geo-based software, CAD to CAD, and connection to Morgan County.
My request for this council is to table this item. There are a lot of issues that need to be addressed through the contract. I've already reached out to the contacts that were provided to me. But as written, I cannot advise the council to proceed on the contracts as they are written.
And also, I've been in contact with Beth, who stated that we needed to have a minimum of 3 quotes. I've got 2. I've reached out to a third, and I have a 4th one in the wings. I've not received anything from the third. So I'm in the process of getting those quotes. She said, based upon the cost of this, I have to have additional quotes from other vendors for body cameras.
Legal's request is to table. Do I have a motion?
Motion to table.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Does that allow him to continue working with the vendor, or do you need a motion for that too?
You mean getting the other quotes from other vendors?
No, that, but also cleaning up the contracts.
No, I mean,
You can do
I
that.
can go to any vendor and say, this contract is not going to work. If you want this council to consider moving it forward, the
You're
language.
going to change it.
Okay.
Jeff Dustin, 5-0. Dustin, you're up. Town manager.
Gentlemen, this was put on the agenda, and I've reached out to a handful of people. One gentleman actually wants to come to our next meeting and kind of give an overview. What a town manager does, what he would propose that Mooresville needs, kind of give us a fun presentation. So I would actually make a motion to table to our next meeting for that presentation.
Motion made to table. Oh, do I have a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Five. New business, the links at Heartland Crossing discussion. Paige, thank you.
Thank you.
On Overton.
Got some information I can share first, is that all right?
How you doing, Ron? Good to see you, man.
Hello. Thank you.
Ron, how you doing? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Overton, how are you this evening? Thank you for asking.
Okay, my name is Ron Overton, and myself and my business partner, Sean Stewart, own the links at Heartland Crossing. We purchased about 3 years ago. We are outside of the town jurisdiction, so this presentation is more for informational purposes than it is any kind of action or any kind of asking for any action on the presentation. I can share this information with you. I can go through it, but in respect to your time, If you want to look at the information, if you have any interest or whatever, I can come back and present at that time. So however you want to handle it, I'm willing to do either way. We can go ahead and look at it this evening. I can hit some of the high points for you, or we can share the information and I can come back if there's interest. However you guys want to handle it. Like I said, it's for informational purposes, but I don't want to take your time if you don't think there's value in it. The impact would be, if it sells as residential versus a golf course, obviously the impact's going to be on the school. I did present to the school board. It'd be a great thing. And this would probably be, you'd probably climb Mount Everest easier than this could happen. But if the school and the town could work together and purchase it for the learning abilities or the learning opportunities for kids at the high school, turf management, mechanicals, repair, food service presentations, business management, I mean, all kinds of opportunities. The town side of it, it could be a walking park before and after golf. It could be, obviously, the golf course. It's a park. It could be a 200-acre park that pays for itself. I know now we've got, I don't know what it is, 130-acre park or something that we have. I believe it's a considerable cost to maintain that park. So it's up to you. If you want me to go ahead and just run through some of the things real quick here, I'll hit some of the high points. And golf course, it's a beautiful golf course, but here's part of the problem. How many people here play golf on a regular basis? That's the problem. It's a great golf course. If you love to play golf, I love to play golf, so I would hate to see it be something else. And I know there's a lot of people in that area that would hate to see it be homes. And I understand that. I totally get it. The people that live in most of those homes, there was remonstrated against before that Heartland was built heavily. Nobody wanted to see 25 or 3,500 homes go in that area either. But the demand for the homes is there. We've been approached by a developer, so we're looking at other options first. We're trying to see if the school might be interested. I know there's possibilities of the town with buffers and annexes. I don't nothing about it. I just know that does occasionally happen. So I just wanted to let you know that we're looking to sell the golf course. We're looking at options, and an option for us would if the, like I said, school, town, or maybe a combination of residences and golf, both. We can still maintain the golf course and add houses to it. So it was built in 1998. There's 200 acres, several buildings. The event room and clubhouse is in excellent condition for being 20-some years old. The golf course is in great shape. We were just voted the #1 public course in the Indianapolis area. With all those things said, at the same year we were voted #1 public course in the Indianapolis area, our number of rounds went down. So, we're making the effort to make the golf course successful. We've invested in it to make it successful. But we knew going in that it was a golf course to be successful is rare in today's, there's just not enough people playing for a golf course to really be successful. Almost every public golf course is for sale. Hickory Stick just sold, Prestwick just sold, Deer Creek just sold. There's another golf course here in this area that's for sale. So, it's really tough to make a living with a golf course.
Are those staying golf courses, or are they being developed? Or do you know?
2 of them are staying golf courses.
2 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the third. They're looking at housing and maybe, and still possibly be a golf course as well. I know 2 of them did stay as golf. But those 2 that stayed golf courses, there wasn't really an option. Both of those were in the HOA that was inside of the development, so they really didn't have an option to do anything else. The community went against it and voted against it, so they couldn't move it to residential.
I know there was one in Pittsburgh that they weren't able to develop.
Yeah,
and that was guidelines. Did the county place any guidelines on this one when that was developed?
No, we're in a PUD. We've approached the county already about redefining the PUD. Who knows how that'll go, but we've been told that they don't have any reason that it wouldn't be approved. There are no stipulations on the property. We are not part of the HOA. So like I said, I just wanted to make the town aware. I don't know if there's any interest or if there could be any interest. If a developer developed that entire piece of property, you're probably looking at 700 homes. More Mooresville school system. And some impact on the town. I'm not sure, probably, the town would probably be more beneficial than anything else. There'd be some revenues and some people using business and utilizing businesses and stuff in the town probably. You flip through it, I don't know if you have any questions. There's, it's a 10,000 square foot clubhouse, like I said, in great shape. There's I think an 8,000 square foot maintenance facility. It's in excellent condition, state of the art. It's got some lifts. It's got air compressors. When they built this golf course, they did it right. They put a ton of money. In fact, it's over the top as far as, if you're not a pretty decent golfer, you probably won't come back. It's not nearly as tough as it used to be. The very first time I ever played it, when it was about a year or two after it was open, I never got in the sand on the front side, but I never got out on the back side. It was from bunker to bunker to bunker. So that can be pretty frustrating. So it is a tough golf course, but it's a beautiful piece of property. I don't know if you have any questions. Like I said, we're just making people aware. We're trying to see if there's other options. Being that as much as I enjoy a golf course, I hate to see it go to homes, but the demand for homes right now is ridiculous. So, especially that area, that close to Indianapolis, the demand is crazy. So that's.
Is it laid out to where you could have homes closer to the?
It's not
enough room to.
It's not right now, but if on about the third page is Steve Smyer's picture. That's the architect that designed the golf course. And that's what he does. He designs golf courses all over the world. He just redesigned the foul course down at IU. Just totally redesigned it. So very well-known developer or designer. And he's willing, he is willing with a number, I'm sure, some cost, to look at redesigning it with homes on the golf course. Now, he's looked at it already for us. He's thinking about 200 homes. We could possibly put in about 200 homes on the golf course. And leave it a golf course. And so that's something we're looking at. Yeah. Yep.
Jewel, can a town own property outside of its jurisdiction or redevelopment commission? Is that even a possibility? I'm just curious.
So you can own property, redevelopment can look at it, but you cannot take anything by eminent domain. But it would be.
Glad to hear that.
It would be hard pressed, so it's not?
No.
Okay. It would be a very difficult thing, I think, to put within the town's budget, to bring in and lay out the public purpose.
Yeah, there are towns that own golf courses. I was in Sevierville, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a small town.
A lot of municipalities own golf courses.
Yes, it is.
That's not out of.
Yeah, not unheard of. But it is a huge financial undertaking, no doubt. Sounds like you guys got some of those challenges already. Probably don't need another one.
No, we're doing analysis.
Island annexation is a thing of the past. We
cannot island annex. You just got to have the 1/8 contiguity.
What I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If the school system and the town could do something together, that'd be fantastic. And the school, not only for their own golf team, but for all the other opportunities for kids to learn.
Yeah, I'm sure you've marketed it to a lot of other owners.
Yeah, we could sell it easily to another owner. But what's going to happen is, within a very short period of time, I'd say within a year, those developers are going to be right back talking to those owners. The property is worth considerably more for development than it is a golf course.
What about a developer owner?
We're talking to somebody right now that's an option. We are talking to a developer that's looking at it to add homes to it and still keep it. So we are talking to somebody that's a possibility.
We work with somebody that.
Yeah. I may talk to you then, because we'll talk to anybody. It's not a fire sale. We don't have to sell it. It's a business that it could probably go on for several years, but you're always right on the edge. You're breaking even. So that's not a business. That's not a business. So
But if you can subsidize it with homes.
Right. Then it's a different story. And if those homes are part of the HOA that's also paying into the golf course, then you've got, because that was never the case at Harlan. It's never been, and it's not really a golf course community even. It doesn't operate that way. There's no golf carts allowed in the community, so.
Have you talked to Mike Dellinger, our EDC director?
Not about this, I have not.
Do you care if I share?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really the reason I'm here.
I
Just to see if anybody has any ideas, share information with somebody that you might know, see if there's another interest. Like I said, if we can keep it green space and keep it a golf course, fantastic.
If you don't mind, I will give Mike this information, and it looks like there's QR code and your
Right.
contact info.
Yes.
I will gladly ask him from
Absolutely.
more of a private sector.
Absolutely. I've talked to Mike about some other things, but I have not talked to him about this.
Okay, I will share this.
I think that's a good idea, too.
Dr. Thompson.
Thompson. I have not talked to them. That's one of the, I've talked to Troon and I've talked to, well, I've probably talked to 3, but they were all interested more in the management side of it than they were actually in owning it. They would come in and manage it for us for a fee,
Yes.
but didn't want to own it.
Thompson's an owner developer, so.
Right. But I didn't know if he was still, if they're still getting into, I know they've sold some of they're still managing some of the city courses, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the city closed, I don't know, several courses last year.
Yeah.
Riverside closed, one of the oldest
I hate to
courses.
see it go to anything
I
other than,
do too.
you know, what it is.
Anybody got any questions? I know you guys have been here for a while, don't want to take your time.
Ron, you've always been truthful, other than this fact that this says 60 bunkers. I've watched high school girls golf there, and I think there's about 1,000.
Yeah, that number may need a 1 in front of it. I think we might have missed, I think there's definitely more than 60. I saw that myself, and I thought, because I've been in more than that, I know. Anything else? You guys, anybody got anything?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Department head reports. Not everybody at once. Take your time.
I know Shane has saw, but if you've noticed, we've got 2 sirens in the ground, and I've been told possibly Thursday the 3rd one will be in the ground. We're still working on getting power hooked up to the one at Newbie, and then we have to discuss how we're going to do power at the one at the park, and then later at the sewer treatment plant. Grants, at the behest of Diana about these IPEP grants, we did get approved for an IPEP grant. I don't know if the town council knew at the time, but it is an 80-20 grant. What I had asked for is outer vest carriers, and they approved that. The total cost that I submitted for was $5,945. They approved $4,756. I'm responsible for $1,189, which I do have available in my budget. I just wanted to make sure you were okay with me moving forward with that.
Protective gear.
It's what it is. It's more safety gear for, it gets this stuff off the body and gets it up here for the guys working patrol, not necessarily would your administration, detectives be using it, but your patrol officers just get some of the equipment off of the hips where most people, you know what I'm talking about, Jeff? Yeah.
Where they
Get more of the stuff up here. One of our officers has been, I guess, T&ing a vest carrier for a while. And we finally decided that's what we want to go with and fund eventually. And I just happened to see this, and so I'll put in for it, and they approved it.
anything else?
Am I okay then to proceed with that, or? Just want to make sure, that there was no issues with me proceeding with that. I know because it was an 80-20 grant, not a fully funded grant.
I mean, you have it in
Yes.
your budget. I mean, I guess would be the same as any other grant that you'd have.
That's fine then.
Something like that. I mean,
Just want to make sure.
You know how I feel about when you went away from Class A's, and I think this is just another step away from them. So it is what it is.
We got Christmas for Kids coming up. We've got it slated for December 11th, 2021 at 0800 hours. It'll be at Walmart. I'm waiting on a grant through Walmart. Had to go through a different process with Diana, assisted me greatly with that. They have a new way of vetting the grants, and so I had to do a lot of pre-work to get that grant. But from what the lady that is my liaison with Walmart, she says once I put in for that, it's pretty much going to be approved. I just don't know the amount of what's going to be approved. It can be up to $5,000, but again, I don't know what that's going to be approved for. Victorian Christmas is coming up, and the tree lighting, that's on 12/3/21 on a Friday evening, and then the Victorian Christmas is on Saturday the 4th. One of our officers will be released from FTO this Friday, the other 3 in a couple of weeks. One of the things that we've been having an issue with here with just in the last couple of weeks, and we've been doing this for years, and Councilman Cook can, I would hope agree with me, 67 and the railroad tracks. There's been several times throughout the years where the bars malfunction and they close and they stop traffic. Would you not agree, Jeff?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And in the past,
Just this week.
I think it's happened a couple times this week. The fire department, I got away from it. I think they used to do it. We've been doing it. We've used straps, ropes, all kinds of stuff. Well, the last couple of times, we've gotten into a little bit of a, I don't want to say a tiff with Indiana Southern and the FRA, I think is what it's called. My discussion with them all the time is we need options. They don't want us to lift those arms and secure them. And I get the liability behind that. But this last time that we did it, I made sure we kept an officer there until they got there. And I didn't know if legal could help us out with some options on what we can do, because it's an hour and a half for them to get there. So you've got traffic backing up to Bridge Street on the north side, and you got traffic backing up all the way down past Toa on the south side for an hour and a half when those gates close.
Do we have a local ordinance of restricting traffic and blocking?
Not to my knowledge. And they're saying whenever we lift these gates, if we secure them up, there's a motor that's running those arms. And if that's restricted, there's the potential to ruin or damage that motor. And they're saying that's a $60,000 fix.
So my recommendation with this is that we pass an ordinance which prohibits restricting the flow of traffic in excess of 15 minutes or something of that nature.
Uh-huh.
And so when this happens, then you start dinging them with ordinances. We had this in Terre Haute where those fines got up to be approaching 6 figures. All of a sudden, they were willing to talk to us about getting a resolution. And I think in Terre Haute, they probably have a better argument because we have a switch yard there that they had to do some backing and checking. So under the safety board, there's certain things that they had to do. So then the question was, is it safety related or not? Here, I don't think we're going to have that if it's just the arm is broken and there's no train there.
Well, I think the lights are flashing.
The lights are flashing and the arms are coming down. So, and I got a copy of the federal railroad, that chapter that deals with that.
Right.
And there is a section on false signals, I guess, for lack of. And I spoke to the individual yesterday that works for Indiana Southern. That is the switchyard guy or whatever you want to call him. And there's 700 feet on each side of those. They have these line sensors, right. And the problem is those things are what's causing the faulty thing. He said people come down, they pull them or whatever, but he said he did recently get some funding and he's going to try to shore up that section, which is causing the faulty alarm. Or
what I'm saying is when they're blocking it right now, there's no train.
There is no train.
Right, and so it's just straight out restricting vehicular traffic.
Yes. And it takes an hour and a half approximately.
Do you have contact information?
No, I do not. I'm in the process of doing that. Okay. I've been researching Indiana contacts for FRA. Do you want Indiana Southern also?
Well, it's their line, right?
It is Indiana Southern's line.
That's who we'll go with.
Okay.
Will that even work, Jewel, on a state highway?
It's NDOT's road.
It is NDOT's road.
Sorry.
And
High Street would be a no-brainer, but this is State Road 67 at the railroad tracks.
And in the past, it's always been, you put those bars up, you're liable if a
train does come.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this. We'll start by reaching out to NDOT and Commissioner McGinnis. And see if we can't get them to shake anything loose.
My conundrum is, do I let the traffic restrict for an hour and a half, or do we set an officer there and raise the arms in violation of, he alleges, I've not found the federal statute that says it's illegal to hold those arms up. I've been looking for it. They say there is a statute. I don't know. I've been looking for it and I have not found that.
I've been told that the Federal Railroad Administration can arrest the President of the United States in their right of ways.
Railroad's got
I'm
carte
not
blanche on everything.
Well, the guy I said yesterday, he says, I can be fined, and he's talking about himself, and that I can be fined, the town can be fined with regard to,
And those gates, if you're on 67, I'm assuming it's not a situation where you have the offset here where an officer can direct traffic around for a while.
you can't get traffic around it now. They're suggesting that we reroute traffic at 67 and 144 and Indiana and 67, which that's not going to happen. There's just no way. You're getting that traffic up Indiana Street and trying to get them back out onto 144. We already have an issue with oversized vehicles now.
Let me reach out to Commissioner McGinnis tomorrow.
Okay.
Because you've got a lot of traffic that's rerouted over here because of his I-69 project right now. He's going to be very mindful as to any backlogs in there, and they may put pressure on right away. So I'll reach out to you tomorrow after
Okay.
Well, I'll have somebody else do it because I'll be in trial tomorrow, so somebody will reach out.
I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention because it's in the past, we've handled it the way we've always handled it. Now it's starting to come to an issue where I think this guy, Indiana Southern's getting heat because of what we're doing. Therefore, the FRA is kind of putting heat on them, and it's trickling down to us.
I know people are laughing for relief, but I don't think it's very funny. I mean, there's a hospital just north of this. You're aware of that, Jewel?
Yeah.
People could be on their way to the hospital right there. I mean, it's a direct route to it.
We have our township trustee that's kind of making gestures.
I agree with what the chief's saying. You know, it's not only just a traffic problem, but it's also a public safety.
That's right.
We have fire trucks. I think Chief Dalton's here. Those fire trucks and our ambulances have to utilize that public highway. And we're on that all the time, every day, several times throughout the day on different runs. And trying to reroute traffic is impossible now because 69 traffic is virtually running through this town, and it's at a standstill. So if you start cutting off more of the major arteries through this town, it's going to be impossible. It's imperative that those arms stay up. If they go down, they have to. Somebody's going to have to go out there. If you guys don't want to do it, I'll send Brown Township down here, and I'll have them put it up. But this is something that
Problem solved.
the township as well as the town. So we
Yeah.
both have a dog in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is something that's going on. I mean, and Indiana Southern, they come down and spank us and say, no, you can't do that, but
Now, I did
It's even
read
worse.
in the federal statute where in cases of an arm malfunctioning, well, let's say a signal. It doesn't specify with arms, but a signal. If a signal's malfunctioning, they suggest, and this is for the federal things, that they contact local law enforcement and the railroad police, and they come and direct traffic through that intersection, or at least stand there and stand by to ensure that if there's a train coming, we can stop it. The problem we have at this intersection
That's why I was asking
is you have arms, we don't have the ability. Now, I have been given some information from them, but it's not public notice.
but they have maybe told you how to disable them?
No, they, and then I made a suggestion to Chief Dalton, and I'll let Mr. Harris know about it also. If it is an emergency, there's a way to get through those, put it that way.
Okay. Mr. Harris will probably use a chainsaw.
The only other thing I have, and I've discussed this with Clerk Walmsley and her deputy clerk, what I would like to institute, and this is kind of after the fact, I know we've already went through the salary and the budget and all that kind of stuff, is my training officers, and most other agencies do this, when a training officer is with a trainee, they get compensated something for that. Some of it's $500 a year, some of it's $1,000 a year. What I would like to do is just offer them an extra dollar per hour when they're with a trainee. That way there is some sort of compensation. And the max that would be 480 hours, so $480 for a trainee per year. Now, this year it's unprecedented. We've got 4 trainees in training, so it's unusual. But I was told, and Diana can correct me, that all it is, it just takes a notation in the salary ordinance and a pay code, and that could be easily done, and that's something that I could easily pay for out of my budget. And I was told just to make you guys aware of that, And I don't know, is that something they have to act upon, or?
Yes, because
Okay.
it would take an amendment to the salary ordinance to put that specialty line in there for $1 per hour. Something like that.
But they suggested I come to you and advise you of this is what I would like to do, with your permission.
Is that done in the second meeting of December usually, or the first?
First or second, yes.
So it's coming up anyway.
That's something we can revisit next month? Okay. Other than that, unless you have any questions, I have nothing else.
Thank you.
Did the FPO get any additional money now?
No. Sorry, I have one more thing, and Steve's here. Ms. Akala and Don is here. We were trying to get some information about, Steve, you want to ask about moving forward with at least the connection, at least the talk of moving forward with the connection with the county for some of the stuff that we want to later do on down the road.
July 26th, we had a meeting with County Administrator Josh Messmer, the EMA Director Scott Hamilton, about data sharing and a dedicated fiber optics line between the county comm center and their server farm and Mooresville for both geobase exchange, CAD-to-CAD exchange, and dispatch backup. At that meeting, there was a preliminary offer made by the county to pay for the installation of a fiber connection to the Mooresville Police Department and purchase the CAD-to-CAD software for the county. We've discussed this on a couple of occasions. What I basically asked the chief to come to you and ask about was permission to move forward with the county commissioners and the county council to put together a formal document and an interlocal agreement and delineate the costs of it. There was already rough costs, I think, went out in September. The bottom line is the cost to the town would be $300 a month if it's approved in the way it's written for the dedicated optics, and the county would pick up the CAD-to-CAD software. We would pay a couple $100 a year maintenance on that software. So we would have full interoperability with the county on that. That's also where we would get our GIS information from Morgan County through that connection on a continual backup, which is some other items we have on the agenda. But I just would like to have permission to go ahead and move forward, get something put together in writing and bring it back to the council.
Shane, did you talk to Eric on the $300?
No, after thinking that through, he's a relative of mine, so I'd rather be left out of that particular discussion. I don't know, he's pretty distant, but I'd still rather be left out of that particular.
We were kind of counting on that.
I know. But I just, yeah.
I think PDS Wireless, we asked Endeavor about connection. We asked PDS Wireless about a dedicated fiber. Endeavor was unable to do it. Their cost would have been $1 million to the town to install the necessary fiber connections to the county. PDS already has a county fiber connection between Mooresville and the county. They're also a county contractor. They provide the backup and direct fiber connection also to Johnson County currently. So the agreement that we have would probably be almost identical to Johnson County, except for maybe a couple of name changes. So,
There's currently no document though, correct?
on the what?
There's no proposed interlocal agreement actually drafted,
There's no interlocal agreement or any of that put together. We just have a quote on how much the software is, how much the install, and how much the monthly cost would be. What I would like to work out with Josh at the county, Don, and Kelly or someone else at the council to present is the details of this agreement, which would probably use Johnson County as the model since it's already pre-existing.
So would we, if we are for it, would we make a motion to have Jewel work with county officials to draft an agreement?
Yeah, and I don't know that you even need to do that. I mean, once you make the determination that that's the road that you want to go down, then we're going to have to do an interlocal anyway.
Okay.
And so
You would be reviewing it anyway sometime down the road.
Well,
I just want, you know,
in this
permission to go
situation-
meet these people, get it together, put the proposal in hard documentation, bring it back through the chief to the council.
And in this situation, we would be drafting that agreement because Manny Hersig represents the county and the county commissioners. He's a partner of mine at Taft. And so we would be looking at it that way. So full disclosure out there with it. But with the interlocal agreements, it's going to be, all right, are you guys comfortable with this amount of sharing? But I don't know that there's nothing that is hurt to say, yeah, go get the information and come back and report back and let's see. If
It was on the agenda under item F, and it kind of got skipped over because it got lumped into the contract conversation. So I just realized that.
I realize that too. That's why Steve brought it to
Oh,
my
I
attention.
realized it when he was sitting up here huffing.
You saw it too.
Yeah. But I was hoping he'd go back there and sit next to Kelly and say, okay, let's negotiate this $300, because that's why they're not talking to him. Right? Okay. So then they can just move on and.
Yeah, they can
to
get,
us.
they
So we're
can
good to
talk
move
and
forward
get
then.
information and then just bring the information back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. There you go. Attaboy.
Good evening. Just to give you guys some updates, we do have the new pickup truck that we got a couple weeks ago, I think it was. It's been decaled out. We're still waiting on lights. I was told about 6 to 8 weeks, so we're waiting on white lights. That was through 2 different vendors. So once those get lights, but the guys are using it. I think they went yesterday to get a ladder that they needed to reach a smoke detector or something in the station or something like that. I don't remember now. Anyway, the other issue that I would like to address, last meeting I talked to President Worthing about a new line item. I had been approached with the committee for an antique fire truck that used to be the Mooresville Fire Department's fire truck back in 1923. With speaking with the ladies in the town hall, they've basically directed me to come back to talk to you guys to approve that approval for a new non-reverting line item for that money for the donations, so that donation money can be just used for that fire truck. Now, with that being said, this committee would also like to donate the fire truck back to the town, but they also want some stipulations, so they've kind of asked me to kind of talk to you guys to get with legal counsel of basically not ever selling this truck. It's a group of old generation guys that are basically working on it at their own time, putting in their own sweat, and fixing this truck back up to parade ready. That's kind of where I was at with everything, just basically kind of giving you guys the information and you guys make the decision on whether to move forward or not.
We would have a donation fund at that point in time that is specific to restoration of the old fire truck. It wouldn't be tax dollars, it would just be simply donations.
Right.
Right now, it's being done through the
Community Foundation, I'm sorry, yes, it was being done to the Community Foundation, and they're losing money. Sometimes they get money in, they put money into the Community Foundation. There's a percentage that they take out every month, and they lose some money when they don't get enough money to, I think they are trying to buy some tires this last go around, and they were costing like $2,000 or something for the 4 tires. They didn't have enough money, so they lost that money. It was sitting there, and they lost some money. So now they've actually got that money, and they're getting ready to purchase those tires so they can actually have it for the Victorian Christmas and try to get more donations for all this. And basically what they're trying to do is get it out of there so they're not losing the money, and have the money controlled by the town and overseen by the department. The fire department, I should say, since you guys own the equipment.
So the underlying issue that they're having is right now they are relying upon
essentially renting the community foundation for 501c3 designation. Because of that, they get contributions in, but the community foundation takes a little bit portion of what they get in.
Right.
And so it diminishes the total contributions. And so what they would like to do is set up essentially use your nonprofit line item, put it in your systems, you got enough room for another fund. It's a good thing Paige left because people hate these non-reverting funds and opening up new funds and things like that. But it would take an ordinance for you guys to create the new fund, restrict the use, and then get it set up, and it's however long it's going to take for you.
If we have a private group of volunteers that are doing the work, will they bring the request for payment to Matt, and Matt would have to make the payment or make the purchase?
Yeah, because once it comes into the town, whether or not it's in a donation fund or not, it is town monies. And so you guys are responsible then for making the determination on the approval of the claim. So they need to know
That's kind of what I was thinking.
they're going to lose control as to say, well, we want to buy these tires. They may be getting some additional headaches depending on how much the expenditure is going to be. Because you're going to be purchasing equipment, essentially. So if it's remains small purchases, that's fine, but it's going to have to come through you. The request is going to have to be made through the claims docket, paid out that way.
Right, and that's kind of how I explained it to them when they approached me, because I knew that I had some non-reverting funds from previous fire chiefs. And I kind of explained that at that point in time, they would have to bring me an invoice to where I can put it with the accounts payable and all that stuff, and then basically approve it from there. And they are okay with all that, so with their little committee.
So this would be a separate fund than the 967.
That's his donations that he buys.
Well, fire truck, or pickup truck.
Well, no.
Lights.
No, I think what he's talking about, I think you have a donation.
I do have a donation
I
fund,
think
yeah.
that's what you,
I use it for like,
buy your hot dogs and stuff like that when you have the Halloween stuff.
that, and I think when we've had some members pass away, family members pass away, we've bought flowers out of that donation fund, stuff like that.
Rather than co-mingle those funds.
We can prep a document for the next meeting for you to take action on.
Is it all right if he does that?
That's fine.
I have nothing further unless you.
I have one thing for, did you have something?
I have something tied to here. Chief and I will need a date for a disciplinary hearing. I know there was some consternation about having it after a council meeting. So if we can decide on a date, I need it to be at least 10 days out. So we're going to be looking around that December 7th timeframe. But we need to get it scheduled as soon as possible because Chief's down a firefighter right now and still paying, so.
We've got to go 10 days from today?
I need to give him 10 days worth of time for the hearing, notice of the date.
Gentlemen, look at your calendars.
We're looking at the week of the 6th, 7th, or 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yep.
Any of those days work for me. Is this going to be a public hearing?
It depends upon how you want to hear it. As a disciplinary, you can have it either in open or in executive. That's up to the council.
So I thought it had to be
The
public.
way that we had it advertised for this one is it was going to be a public hearing. But
I prefer it to be public.
Yeah.
7th, 8th, or 9th works for me. We have a meeting on the 7th, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of doing it afterwards. We'd start a hearing right now at 8:30, if it was over and go into the night. I don't think that's fair, so I'd prefer to have its own day. Tommy, what do you think? I know we talked about it, I mean,
It's late, I hate to make those kind of decisions.
right, exactly.
We can do whatever you guys want to. You had asked, and I appreciated about closing. I mean, we can do it, we can start at 3, we can start at 4, and try to run it through, if that's all right with you guys. I hate to defer it back to, hey, I'd like to start after 5, but
7, 8, and 9, I'm off, so I'll leave it up to you. Again, you're running a business, I hate for you to close it.
gentlemen, what's good for you? Shane?
I can do any of those dates, anytime.
Can we start early, like 6 in the morning?
Yes.
I'm but that.
Anytime but that.
I'll get the office at 5.
Greg, what time do you need to, what's the absolute earliest in the afternoon?
I could probably do about anything.
Dustin?
I cannot do the 9th. I can do 6, 7, 8. I can do most any time those days. And I would adore the 6 o'clock in the morning time frame, but that's okay.
Sure. Everyone's a long ways away.
No. I will have somebody here, like, I know this is probably too much information. My son's got his last concert on the 7th. My wife will kill me if I am not there for that, because he's a senior.
7th, so be it.
The 8th, I'm in Chicago, or I'm in Gary for a board meeting up there.
What day's our meeting?
Your meeting is the 7th.
You're not going to be here?
You are going to have, most likely, Ms. Copeland at that meeting.
What about the 6th?
6 I could do.
6th?
What time?
Did you say 6th?
No, it just all depends what time.
You said 7, 8, 9, didn't you?
Yeah, but I can go on the 6th. What time are you planning on going? I mean, are you wanting to do it in the afternoon?
I don't even want to do it on the 6th, because I apologize
Okay,
to
that's
you,
fine.
because I was thinking the day before, the day after. How about, you said the 8th, you're out, how about the 9th?
I thought somebody else said they couldn't
I
do it.
cannot be here on the 9th.
I mean,
Are we going to start this at like 2 o'clock, or are we going to start this at 6 o'clock?
Can everyone start at 3?
Yes.
3?
Right, good.
Justin?
On the 7th, or?
Well, he's not going to be here, so it'd be the 6th.
Or the
Or the 8th.
Yeah, I can do either one of those days at any time.
8th at 3 o'clock?
so there's a 90% chance, it just depends on if I get stuck in traffic coming down from Gary.
Lights and sirens?
Well, I would love it, but I don't have it, and I get in trouble if I try.
We can arrange it.
Okay, so we're going with the 8th. Is that was in your times, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
8th, 3 o'clock right here.
I'll let Michelle know, Chief.
Do what, I'm sorry?
I'll let Michelle know.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything else?
I do not, sir.
Okay, while you're here, I received an email from Mark Toomey. The Emergency Management Advisory Council is updating their list of members. This is at Josh Messmer's request. Our representative has always been, had been in the most recent past, Tim Metzger. It had not been updated. Matt called in tears wanting to do this.
I think it was the other way around, sir.
What a guy.
I called Matt, he was in tears. But it's usually done, it's been done in the past by our fire chiefs. As a member of that board, I called him and talked to him to make sure that this was a fair and accurate board that he felt compelled to be on, and he said yes. It is, by statute, it is an appointment by this board, by the governing body.
Motion to approve Chief Dalton's over-excitement to serve on this board. Merry Christmas.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
You're lucky the public can't see that.
Dustin, Greg, aye.
I was just gonna ask, can I pull my name if I don't know what I'm getting myself into later?
Too late.
Tim did it.
I have nothing further unless you guys got questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
That's it. Any department heads? Legal, did you have anything?
No, I covered it in chiefs.
Public comments?
Hi, council. I met with you guys about a month ago. I sent everybody an email except you. I didn't invite you to that meeting that was referenced earlier. Wanted to correct the record on some things. First,
name and address.
Braxton Hughes, 6600 East Aberdeen Court, Canby. Wanted to kind of correct a few things. First off, that meeting was absolutely led by Chief Julian. The other people that were involved in that meeting were there to fill in gaps where Councilman Williams, when I reached out to him to see if there were any questions, there was a question that he had about the acquisition of the K-9 for the K-9 program. Councilman Cook was invited to this meeting. I'm not sure why he's got an issue with the meeting when he was fully involved, could have been fully involved in the meeting. I found it really interesting that after my email to him saying, hey, just trying to bridge some gaps, I think that there's some misunderstandings and miscommunications. He informed me that he said, thank you for reaching out. I was a part of Mooresville PD from 97 to 2008. I'm well aware about our K-9 program and how it was formed, operated, and funded. I can assure you that there will be funding for this and we will not have to go around beg for money. I hope this clears up confusions you may have. Those were not my confusions. I laid those out. I laid out my concerns to him. I said the biggest question that everybody had was where the K-9 would be acquired. I informed him who would be at the meeting. One person was not there. That was the newly selected K-9 handler. Don't know why. I don't know if that was a chief decision, but he was not there. Casey Schultz was there. That is Officer Schultz, the K-9 handler that we've had with Cy that was just recently medically retired. She was there. She was there because she's been the most outspoken advocate for this program since day one. Why? Because her husband's sacrificed through building the program into what it is now. I believe you guys selected Chief Julian as the chief of police. Is that correct? He then appointed Officer Schultz as the person to lead that unit. When offered a meeting, one person took us up on it. I had a great back and forth with Mr. Swinney. Thank you for your information and your candor. I didn't get anything back from you, Ms. Stanley. That's fine. I get that. I'm not going to get one back from everybody. And like I said, I didn't email you. I was more focused on these at this point. So I don't know why there was some frustration there. Obviously, I have no say on where the dog comes from. I do have some experience in at least the acquisition side of things with canines. I know VLK is the one that you would really like for them to go through. That's Vaughn Kennels. Vaughn Kennels last year went through a $1.3 million federal lawsuit for lying to the State Department about federal contracts. And I think it's a little scary, a small town like this, when we've got some options, wants to look at a mass breeder that's providing federal dogs, when we have some options of places that might be a little bit more personal in service. The owner, Vaughn Lick, is also famous for being on a television show, which I don't know, little concerning for me that we've got some Hollywood person we're getting a dog from. Again, I don't know why there is tension between Jeff, this program. I will ask you, have you been a canine handler at all?
I have not.
Okay. You've not been trained in canine
I have
handling?
not.
Not with IMPD, not with Mooresville Police Department?
No.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Anyone else? I need a motion for approval of payment of claims.
Make a motion that we approve claims in the amount of $777,460.48.
How many cents?
48.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg, 5-0.
Of course, sir.
Town council comments.
Just real quick, I stand by my comments with the K-9 program. It's been a debacle from the word get-go. We've tried to manage it. It just went downhill. I'm elected to this board to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and that's how I voted tonight. It didn't vote because the way it's handled. If it's handled properly, maybe in the future we can do something. So, is what it is. You can talk to other canine handlers around, I have, and I suggest you do the same thing. And again, I stand by my decision based on the best interest of the taxpayers. I yield the rest of my time to Shane.
And you're up.
To me.
That's right.
Okay, so I asked, I found this ordinance 520-16 regarding internal controls, and I happened upon this ordinance looking for something else, and I asked Jewel to review it. It talks about internal controls regarding town assets. And the reason I brought it up a few weeks ago, I brought up councilman access to the clerk's office, but since then, it's come to my attention, and actually, Councilman Cook brought it to my attention, that we may have keys floating around the government center that we don't know, we don't have control over or know who's got them. For example, he had a key issued that is still valid today, back when he was on the council before. Then he was a police officer for the town as well. He was no longer on the council. Then he had left for IMPD, as we all know. Forgot he had the key. Still has the key to this day, and it still operates the outer door. I call it an employee entrance in the back. So you're talking a span of a long time. I don't know, how long is that? About 10 or 15 years?
Yeah, several.
And so now I'm curious, we also learned that the councilman who has a key currently to the clerk's office received one from the previous treasurer. So I'm wondering when the last time the building was rekeyed, and we've had all these employees and come through and elected officials. So I think it's time to rekey the building because we have assets in the building. If you look around, TVs, we have computers, all kinds of assets. And I'm not confident we even have a key policy. I don't know if we do, but I don't think we have any clue who's got a key to this building. So I wanted to bring it up. It looks to me like that ordinance gives us at least a role in internal controls. And Jewel, you can speak to that if I'm wrong or not, but that's really all I have.
Yeah, no, the State Board of Accounts was designated and put stuff out in 2015 about internal controls, and it is a way to put safety measures in to protect the assets of each community. And so local councils were asked to pass the ordinance which laid out and accepted and adopted those sorts of policies. And it's really to kind of track the authorized and unauthorized access to municipal property. And so this is going to be an issue if we don't know who has keys and if they operate the town. I mean, I think that is an issue that we're going to have to look at and take care of. I think in the other instance, like you and I talked, Councilman Williams, that is a situation where there's an authorized access, and so that falls outside of the concerns of the policy and the internal controls. But I think we definitely need to take a look at what's going on with these keys.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one instance that we know of, then I'm not confident that I can say we know of the rest. And again, it's not about a person's character and an accusation, but and people get mad at me for bringing this stuff up, but I was elected to do some things for the town too, and I think sometimes we need to be criticized because this isn't good. I mean, you have who knows how long these keys are. If they're 25 years old, you've had a lot of people come through the town in that amount of time, and I think it's probably time to look at it all.
Else?
One last thing, and Commissioner Adams is here tonight. I received a call Friday from both our planning commission president or chairman and Commissioner Adams. Did you receive a letter from the town regarding our planning commission? Was it?
I think that was sent to the administrator.
Okay. Well, as of Friday, neither one of them had a possession of that letter that was sent chastising our planning commission, and I don't know what the breakdown was, but that was almost 2 weeks after we voted. I didn't vote for it, but after it passed. So I provided a copy of that letter to him and also to the chairman of our planning commission because I thought it should have been sent earlier. I mean, I just wanted to let you know.
Anything else?
No, I think that'll do it.
Greg?
It's been a little heavy-handed tonight. That letter was sent to Josh, as it was addressed to Josh, the administrator, to disperse. I said, your administrator has the letter.
Yeah, I saw it today.
Okay. So, a little heavy-handed tonight. I want to wish everybody a happy and blessed Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for. We bicker a lot. We're part of a crazy family known as the town of Mooresville. But we are still truly blessed to be here, so happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Our next meeting date will be, December 7th. Yep. I think that'll be probably one of our more humble meetings that we have to have. Sometimes we forget how blessed we really are and how we got to where we are. The more we remember, maybe the better we'll treat each other. We'll see you all here December 7th, 6:30. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Jeff Dustin, 5-0.